In this video, we had learned how to write and read something from a binary file. Today, we're going to learn how to search for something in a binary file. How do you copy the contents of one binary file into another? How do you delete something from a binary file? And how do you modify the contents of the binary file? Is that clear? So let's start with searching for something in a binary file. Okay, so let's look at the question given to us. It says, write a method to read the contents of the binary file emp.dat and to display only those records where the department is sales. So we are going to be sequentially reading each and every record of the binary file, but we will only be displaying those records where the department is sales. Now for a minute, let me take you to the last program that you saw in the previous video. Okay, and execute that program for you, then you exactly know what we are planning to do. In the previous video, we had written the details of employees in a binary file named as emp.dat. Okay, and we had also read. So we had learned the writing and the reading. I'm executing the same program because based on this writing and reading, I would want to do the search or the deletion or the modification that I'm talking about. Okay, so let me just run the program. Okay, it's asking me for employee number. I say 1. It's asking me for name. I say, let's say Amit. It's asking me for salary. I say 200. It's asking me for a department. So I write sales. Okay. Then it's asking me whether I want any more records. Previously, I showed you a for loop. And I told you, you could use a for loop or a while loop depending upon what kind of looping would you prefer. Okay. It's asking me whether I want to add any more records. I say yes. So it's asking me for the next employee number, next name, next salary, and department, let's say, is accounts. Okay, then yes, it's asking me for another employee number, another name, another salary, and department, let's say I repeat sales. Okay, and it's asking me to, let's see, one more employee, and name is Pooja, let's say salary is 500 and department is accounts. Okay, so now just to remind you that what have I done? Okay, now I say no. I have entered 4 employee details. 2 employees I have entered in the sales department and 2 employees I have entered in the accounts department. So we'll just keep in mind that employee number 1 and employee number 3, the odd ones, are in the sales and the even ones are in the accounts department. Now, why did I have to do that? Because in this program that we plan to do today, we need to be searching for employees from the sales department. So unless and until I don't write something into the file, how am I going to search? Okay, so let me start writing the method. Let's say method searching. Okay, now let me just explain to you step by step how do you perform searching. Step number 1, import the pickle module. So I write import pickle. Step number 2, open the required file in read mode. So I write fin is equal to open and the name of the file given to me is emp.dat and I'm opening it in read mode. So I write RB because it is a binary file. Okay. Then I told you what is the method of getting data from the binary file. According to the knowledge of my previous video, it was the load function. But I told you the load function will go on loading, and once it reaches the end of file, it will give me an error. I don't want it to give me an error. Instead, I will write an error handling mechanism here, or an exceptional handling mechanism called the try except. So I'm going to do that, and you have seen this in the previous case when we were doing the writing. Okay, and I say as long as it's true, keep reading from the file. Now just to remind you that in the previous example I wrote to the file using a list. So the dumping was using a list. So I remember telling you that if you dump using a list, you load also using a list. So I'm going to be loading as E is equal to, what's the method of loading? You write pickle.load, and the file object which connects the scenario which is connecting me to the file is fin. So what will happen? One record that was stored in a list called E, I had written it previously. Now I'm reading one record into a variable called E. Now you need to remember is in the previous example, E was storing the employee number, the name, the salary, and then the department. So in the list, the department is which element? It is the fourth element. And if it's the fourth element, the index number is going to be 3. So now pay attention to what I write here. If E of 3, that means element at index number 3, is it equals to, now what am I searching for? Sales. Is it equal to sales? Only then I want to print, I say print E. Okay, now this becomes an infinite, it will go into the loop, Now, when it comes across the end of file, it will be captured, or it will come to the line called except, and it will come across the error called EOF error. And if it comes across EOF error, what is the thing that I need to do? I need to do nothing. So when I say I need to do nothing, I write the word pass. And finally, I close the file. So I have fn.close. Okay, now, so let me just tell you the steps once again while you're searching. Searching is almost similar to reading. But in reading, what do? You load and you display. You load and you display. Here you load, you check, should it be displayed? Is it satisfying the condition given in the question? If it is satisfying the condition, you will display. Is that clear? Okay, so what do I do? How do I go about with, the searching mechanism is, first of all, import the required, the pickle module. So that's here, import. Second is open the file in the read mode. So I've opened the file. Third is you load from the file. Load from the file means get the data from the file. After getting the data from the file, you check if this record is now in E. Is this record having the department as sales? Why did I write E3? Because I know the fourth element in the list is the department. So I'm checking if that is equal to sales. Only if it is equal to sales am I printing. If it's not equal to sales, you will keep loading the next record, and so on. Now, according to the previous outputs that we see here, what records should be displayed? Only employee number 1 and employee number 3. Okay, let me just run this program. But before I run this program, just writing a module is of no use. I need to call the module. Just writing a function is of no use. I need to call that function. So I'm calling that function. So what is my expected answer? Only Amit and Rohit's name. Let's see what happens. Yes, I've got Amit's and Rohit's name. So is that clear? Is searching for something in a file clear? Okay, so if that is clear, let's go to the next program. The next program talks about copying the records of one file into another. Copying the records of one file into another. Okay. As usual, let me go stepwise. First step is going to be import the required module. So I am importing pickle. So I write import pickle. Okay, after that, I'm starting the function because it's copying. I call it copy. Okay, now, when you're copying the contents of one file into another, at the same time, how many files do we have open? 2. The original file in read mode from where you want to copy, and the other file where you want to copy in the write mode. Okay, so I'm going to write fn is equal to open. The question says to copy from which file? emp.dat. So emp.dat, I'm going to copy, and so I'm opening the file in read mode. Okay, where do I want to copy according to the question? To a file named as accounts.dat. So fout is equal to open in bracket the file name, which is accounts.dat, and I open it in which mode? I said write mode. So write mode means WB. Okay, now what will I do? I will keep reading the contents of emp.dat like the same way of reading. Keep reading the contents of emp.dat, but if the department is accounts, like previously I checked if it was sales and I printed it, Now, instead of printing it, if the department is accounts, I will dump it. That means write it to the other file. Okay. So again, we know now, no need of this explanation, that I need to write it in the try except module, block. So you have try except EOF, error, and if it's an EOF error, I have nothing much to be done. I have to just say pass. Now in the try, what did we do? As long as the condition is true, that means it's like an infinite loop. While true means it is going to be true. What am I going to be doing? Reading the contents. How do you read something from a file or a binary file? Pickle.load and the file object that is connecting me to the binary file. So I have read it into the list named as E. Now I need to check what they're saying, only copy what? People who are in the accounts department. So I need to check if the department is accounts. So I write if E square bracket 3 equals accounts. Okay, if it is equal to accounts, what do I need to do next is not display them like this previous one, displaying of salespeople, but this is to transfer. Transfer means write to a binary file. Writing to a binary file is done using the dump method. How do I write that? I write pickle dot dump in bracket. What do you want to dump? The entire list, which is E, consisting of employee number, name, salary, and department. And to which file? To a file whose object is fout. And what is the name of the file whose object is fout? Accounts.dat. Okay. And this will keep continuing. And when will it, this will keep continuing. And when will it stop reading? Once it reaches the EOF. And once it reaches the EOF, it will come and execute the except EOF block, and except EOF block says do nothing but just pass. So, and finally I go to close both the files because I've opened two files. So I have fin.close and I have fout.close. Okay, now if I run this program, I'm not going to be getting any output. Instead, it will only transfer the contents to another file named as accounts.dat. So how do I verify that it has been transferred? Is you read the contents of accounts.dat and check whether it is the correct one. So what have I done here is I already have the reading function written. Okay, so I have written a reading function, and what is this reading function doing? Is going to read from accounts.dat so we can verify whether accounts people have been transferred. Okay, so now I'm going to be just calling both the functions. First, I'll call the copy function, which will give me no output because copy is just transferring, taking from one file and putting into another. And then just to verify whether the copy took place, I wrote the reading function. So I write reading. So now the reading is not reading from emp.dat. In fact, it is reading from the file accounts.dat. Is that clear? So let's check this. Okay. Okay, can you see there? You can see Tara's name and Pooja's name because both are from the accounts department. Now remember, we are not displaying people who are in the accounts department. We were transferring them to another file. So we transferred them to another file in this part of the program. Then what did I do? I read the contents of that accounts.dat just to verify whether my program works perfectly fine. Okay, so let's revise on the steps of copying. Import the required module, which is pickle. Open EMP in read mode, open accounts in write mode. Read mode because I want to get the contents from there, write mode because I want to transfer. Then you read from the file using the load method. Check if it's the accounts department. If it's the accounts department, you dump. That means you write to the other file. Then you close both the files and you open accounts and read it. You will see the contents. Is that clear? So we are done with searching for and copying. And if you realize searching, copying, reading, almost the same lines, okay, with slight changes. I hope till here it's clear, okay? Let's look at another question. Now this question is asking me to delete the contents of the binary file emp.dat if the department is sales. So it's not asking me to display people who are in the sales department, but it is asking me to delete the contents. Now, how do I go about with deleting the contents? Step number 1, import the required module. So by now, you know the required module is nothing but the module named as pickle. Because I'm writing a method, I'm calling it deletion. Okay, now for deleting, what do? You open the original file where the content is or where the data is in read mode. And we'll open any temporary file, you can give any name, in the write mode. Now, why are we using opening the temporary file in the write mode? I will just tell you shortly. Okay, so we're going to be opening how many files? 2 files. The original file in input mode and a temporary file in output mode. Okay, so fn is equal to open. Original file was emp.dat and opening it in which mode? I said read mode. So RB. Okay. And you're supposed to be opening any temporary file. They've not told you where to copy and all. We are not doing the copy concept. We're doing the copy concept, but not because they told us to copy, because that's the way we delete. Okay. So I'm just opening any temporary file in output mode. So fout is equal to open the name of a temporary file, that's temp.dat. And in which mode am I planning to be opening the temporary file? In write mode. So you have WB. So now I've opened EMP in read mode and a temporary file in write mode. Now what are we planning to do? You know how we are going to do deletion? Suppose there are 5 records in EMP, okay? And the first and the third are sales. I will read the first record. Is it sales? Yes, leave it as it is. Read the next record. Is it sales? No. When it is not sales, this record, this second record, I will transfer it to the temporary file. So now the temporary file did not have the first record, but it will have the second record. Why? Because the second record was not department sales. I'm supposed to be deleting people from sales. Then I read the third record. Was it sales? Okay, leave it as it is. Fourth, is it sales? No. So I transfer to a temporary file. So in short, what are we doing? All the records that we don't want to delete, we are going to be copying from the original file to the temporary file. I repeat, all the records that you don't want to delete, not the ones that you want to delete, but you don't want to delete, you copy all of them from your original file to the temporary file. But obviously, do I have to read the contents of the original file? Yes. And for reading, we know we're going to be making use of the try except block. So these lines now need no explanation because you are now master at it. Okay, I'm going to read the contents. So how do I read the contents? Also, you know by now. Okay, so I've read the contents into E. Now I'm checking whom do I want to delete? People of sales department. So if E square bracket 3 equals sales. Okay, no, instead of equals sales, I'm going to write not equal to sales because I'm talking about people who I don't want to delete. Whom do I not want to delete? People who are not in the sales department. So if a person is not in the sales department, I want his record saved. Right? So where am I saving it? In my temporary file. So how do I save something into a file or write something into a file? Pickle.load. Where is the data stored? In E. And to which file am I writing? Into a file whose file object is fout. Please understand this and you're done. Actually, most of it is done. So remember, what you're going to do is open the original file in read mode and a temporary file in write mode. Keep reading all the records of the original file till you don't reach the end of file. If the record that you read is not the one to be deleted, then you transfer it to the temporary file. That's exactly what I'm saying. If your department, if the employee's department is not sales, I'm transferring it to the temporary file, which is temp. Okay. And I have this exception handling mechanism, EOF error. And what do I do there? If I reach the end of file, I have nothing to do. Now close both the files. Okay, so now when I close both the files, my original file EMP still has every record, but what is there in temp.dat? Only those records of employees who are not in the sales department. But did I actually delete it from the original file? No. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be issuing two more statements. One is you remove delete your original file. Okay, and the temporary file, you rename it as your emp.dat. So what will happen? Temporary only has people of all department except sales. So you will delete your original file and rename this temporary file as emp.dat. So what does it look like? As though you have deleted sales people from emp.dat. Is that clear? So for that, I need to import another module named as OS, the operating system module, because the next two functions that we are going to be writing, which is remove and the file name that you want to remove, which is the file name you want to remove, emp.dat, is a method of the module OS. So I have to write os.remove. Okay. After that, rename is also a method or function of the module. Sorry, rename is also another function of the module OS. So I write os.rename. And how do I rename? I am going to rename my temporary file, that is temp.dat, with the name emp.dat. Okay, so now I'm going to, and I'm done. The function is over. So now what has happened is method, import the required modules. Now the required module is not just pickle, but the OS module also. Open two files, the original file in read mode, the temporary file in write mode. Read all the contents from the original file, but only transfer those contents to the temporary file which should not be deleted. Then close both the files. Then you delete your original file and you rename your temporary file with the original file name, and it looks like we have performed deletion. Okay, but if I really want to check if deletion has been done, I need to have a reading function which will read the contents of EMP and show me that salespeople are not there, but only the others are left. So I have written the reading function for EMP. Okay, so that's there. So I'm going to call both the functions and see how it works. So first I call the deletion function, which gives me no output. And then I call the reading function, which should show me all other departments except sales, because sales people we deleted. Now in our case, we have only people of accounts and sales. So let's see how that works. Sorry, yes, here it's not load. If it's not sales, I had to transfer to the other file, right? So it is dump. Okay, so it's telling me that I've given two parameters to load, but it was not supposed to be load, it had to be dump. Okay, so we run the program. Yes, and can you see I've only got Tara and Pooja in emp.dat, and both are from accounts department, and the other two people who are in the sales department got deleted. So have I deleted the contents of the EMP file? Yes. So I hope children, it's very easy. You just learn the steps of what you have to do. Then let them ask you to delete salespeople or student or employee or teacher or flight. Only question will change, but the logic of the program is going to remain the same. So whenever you study for your exam, just remember the steps of doing each of them. Then you can handle any question. I'm working with EMP all the time because I've created EMP so I can work and show you. But in the examination, it could be EMP, student, but the logic, maybe you're deleting people who have failed. Okay, so that means here I'm deleting people who are in the sales department. So only those questions will change. Otherwise, things are going to remain the same. I hope it's clear. Okay. I hope you're ready for the next program. The next program is about modification of records in the file. Okay. So here it says to increase the salary of employees of the sales department by 100. Where the data is stored in the binary file emp.dat. Okay, so it's modification. Okay, what is step 1? Import the required modules. In modification also, you are going to be requiring the OS module. So I'm going to import both of them. So import pickle and import OS. Okay, then I'm writing a function. So I call it modify. You can give any name to the function. Here too, we are going to be opening two files. One is the original file in read mode and the other is a temporary file in write mode. So I write fin is equal to, in fact, instead of wasting a lot of time, why don't we pick up the lines from what we wrote in the previous program, okay? So that will save us a lot of time, okay? But the only extra things that we have to do, I will tell you. Okay, so I open the original file in read mode and a temporary file in out mode. I read the contents of the file. Now I want to increase the salary of whom? The people who are in the sales department. So what will I do? If E of 3 equals sales, I'm going to increase their salary. Where is the salary stored? As the third element. Third element means at index location 2. So E of 2 is equal to E of 2 plus 100. That means whatever is there at that location, to that you add 100. Okay, just to show you here, these were the records of the contents in the file currently. Okay, so you have Amit with 200, they're in sales, no, and Rohit with 400. So these should all get increased to 300 and 500. Let us see. Okay, so what is the method? You import both the modules. You open the original file in read mode and a temporary file in write mode. You read the contents of the file till you don't reach the end of file. You check if it's the department who has to be given the increase. It is the sales department. You actually increase it in that variable, that list, and only then you dump that list. So the modified data gets written to the file. Okay, then after this, and then you close both the files. And like I said, the modified content is where, oh, but I want to tell you here another interesting thing. The dumping will take place. Now I have indented it outside. The dumping will take place even if the person is not in the sales department. Now let me tell you the whole thing. If you're in the accounts department, I don't increase your salary, but I transfer you as it is to the temporary file. But if you're in the sales department, I increase your salary and then transfer you to, or dump you to, the temporary file. Okay. Finally, we see the modified data is not in our original file, it's in our temporary file. So then what do? We remove the original file and we rename the temporary file as emp.dat. Now, how would I come to know that modification has taken place or no, unless and until I don't read the EMP file? So let me copy that part as well. Okay, so I bring it here and I'm copying that function as well, which will tell me exactly. But remember, for this question, the reading was not important. Okay, now I'm calling both the functions. So I write modify. After that, I am calling the reading function. Okay, and let's just run the program. So now what should happen? According to our data here, Amit should be 300 and Rohit should be 500. And the others should remain unchanged, right? So let's just run the program. Yes, Amit has become 300. Rohit has become 500. The others who are in the accounts department, their salaries remain unchanged. So is the modification clear to you, children? So modification also almost the same lines of deletion with respect to the transferring. But in deletion, what do you transfer to the other file? The records that should not be deleted. In modification, what do you transfer to the other files? All records. But the records that need to be modified will be transferred after you do this modification. That means the dump will work only after you have increased the salary. If the person is in the sales department. If the person is not in the sales department, as you read, you are just going to dump because there is no change. Is that clear? And then finally the remove and the rename, which are methods or functions of the OS class. I hope file handling with text files as well as binary files is clear. Okay. In the next video, we will learn about how to deal with CSV files and a little small things here and there about file handling. Is that clear? So I hope binary file, you're confident with binary file working, and I've shown you here all examples with respect to a list. I told you, if you have learned a dictionary, we can make use of a dictionary as well and do all the same things. It doesn't matter, or in fact, individual elements to read employee number, name, like an integer for employee number and a string for name, even those can be done. I did it initially when I showed you the writing, where I took 4 different variables. But then just to, when you use 4 different variables, I have to write 4 loads. Here I just have to write 1 load and all the 4 elements come into the list named as E. So it could even come into your dictionary. If you had dumped a dictionary, you would read a dictionary. Is that clear? So I hope binary files, text files from the previous videos and binary files from the last 2 videos is clear. Okay, see you all in the next video with CSV files.